Walter sat in his room, with his feet up on the edge of the bed. It had been a day like any other, nothing memorial about it. His eyes swept about the room, but nothing jumped up to capture his attention until the rapping started again. It was repeated every 5 minutes, and was delivered softly, as if someone was trying not to raise anyone's suspicions. "Well, if that ain't a kick in the head. If it turns out to be Zeke, I'm going to kill him." He listened to the repeated pattern, then just automatically found himself on his feet over near the wall. There it was again, the shave and a haircut pattern, and like an involuntary movement, he reached out and answered. 2 bits. A short duration of silence followed. Then the rapping continued, with what seemed like renewed enthusiasm. Walter waited a few seconds, then tapped out once again. 2 bits. There was no further sounds coming from the adjoining room. Well, thought Walter, at least we're communicating. As he walked across the room, his eyes caught sight of a white piece of paper on the floor, just inside his door. He stooped down, picked it up, and carried it to a chair, where he unfolded it and read. "Here, Earthlings, listen, please. Mrs. Wiggles has gone to Mars. Maybe I should have kept taking my medication. Are the raps even real? Or did I just imagine them? Did I write this earlier and forget about it?" He folded a piece of paper and stuck it under his blanket with his pen. "I'll run it past Zeke tomorrow." Mr. Wiggles was beside himself. Having someone knock back was like Robinson Crusoe finding Friday's footsteps in the sand, but he didn't want to push his luck by annoying whoever was next door. I wonder if they found the message yet. If they have, what will they make of it? Zeke, having flushed his medication down the toilet, crawled into bed and closed his eyes. A pen and paper beside him to write down any compelling thoughts that came his way, or more likely impressions. These short, durational impressions that spring forth from someone else's mind, flooding through space and time to reach him. Molly sat in old Joe's cafe. She was still on her first refill. "Can I ask you a question? An eggy question?" Old Joe looked amused. "An eggy question? What is that supposed to mean?" "I heard that if you make a hard-boiled egg and spin it on its side, it will eventually upright itself and end up spinning on its end. Any idea why it does that?" "You've been thinking of eggs quite a lot lately, haven't you? Well, if I had to guess, I would say when it's on its side, it's lopsided. It has one end larger than the other. It is an inefficient way of using energy. So it neutralizes these opposing forces by standing and spinning on the larger end of the two, if I had to make a guess. Hey, Joe, how about we try one?" Old Joe shook his shoulders. "Eggs? I don't have any here, but if you want to get some at the corner store, what the heck? I'm game as long as you don't spread it around. I have my reputation to think of after all. I haven't tried a scientific experiment in over 50 years. "I'll get a half a dozen. That should suit us. Put on some water to boil while I'm gone." "I can't believe some of the things I get talked into. She has me spinning eggs now." "Hey, what are you doing? Talking to yourself again?" "Oh, sorry, Artie. Didn't see you come in. Must be slow driving cab, as it is in here tonight." "Just taking a break. Good to stand up for a while. So what's happening?" "Just stick around and you'll see the level of excitement here. We're boiling eggs later." "You're kidding. What are you doing, developing a new kind of donut with a hard-boiled egg inside? Sounds pretty good. Put me down for one. You can even name it after me." 3-Minute Artie. Be a good name for it, or a horse. "By the way, are you doing any wagering tonight?" "There's a trifecta in the 8th we're looking at." "Who's we?" "Oh, Molly and me. Here she comes now." The door swung open. "Got a half a dozen. 3 white, 3 brown. I figure we could boil up one of each and find out what happens." "I thought you were joking. An egg-filled donut. Well, live and learn." "What's all this about an egg-filled donut?" No, we're just spinning a hard-boiled egg on its side to see if it stands upright on its own. Not only that, but I heard you can stand an egg on its end during the vernal equinox, when day and night are equal length. Li Cheng in the Chinese calendar, which runs from February 4th to February 19th. A fresh chicken egg can be stood on its end at this time because the Earth and Moon are rightly situated to present a perfect balance of forces between them to allow this to happen. That night Mr. Wiggle put his pen and pad under his covers to keep them safe from prying eyes. In the morning he went down to breakfast, and opening his notebook was surprised to see what happened there. Zeke and Walter found their usual table. "Hey, Zeke, take a look at this." He slid a piece of paper over to him. On it was written, "Here, Earthlings, listen please. Mrs. Wiggles has gone to Mars." "First you get mysterious knocks, and now this. It might be a code of some sort. Look at that. Sometimes I even amaze myself. Take the first letters off the top 4 words, string them together, and they spell out help. And I might add, if they're asking you for help, they must be in real trouble." "Funny, real funny. Stay here and I'll get the coffee pot for a refill." Walter made his way to the counter past a few other tables and returned. As he poured the coffee he said, "Talk about funny. Take a look at what that fellow over there by the wall drew in his notebook." Zeke stood up, and taking the coffee pot back, he passed just near enough to the table to see what was on the page. A bewildered look crossed his face. He stopped and said to the stranger, "You must be new here. Why don't you come over and join us? My name is Zeke, and that is Walter. We're here most days." Mr. Wiggle, with a friendly face, said, "Don't mind if I do. Let me grab my coffee and I'll join you." Doing so, he followed Zeke to their table. When they both sat down, Zeke, looking down at the notebook, said, "Couldn't help but notice what you drew in your book." He pointed at the oval-shaped figure resembling an egg. Mr. Wiggle was beginning to feel a little uncertain. He was more puzzled than uncertain when Zeke and Walter produced 2 identical ovals on pieces of paper they had earlier drawn themselves. Nobody said a word for a few seconds. Only then did a shaken Mr. Wiggle ask, "What does it all mean?"